My world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say I am what I am.
Good afternoon and welcome to LGBT-Life, and this is certainly not a place you had to hide in because we're just out there and in your face. And today we have a very special guest because we welcome back Ren Dennehy, who people will remember from earlier in the week when Ren made such a fabulous impression with the audience. So Ren, or Avoca reaction, welcome back to LGBTQlife.
Thank you, delighted to be here again, mate.
Yeah. Just to just let the listeners know, you've made quite a name for yourself in the last 9 months or so. Mm-hmm. Particularly up there in Francis Street, you've established what I could call is queer culture in Ireland. You're very much associated with that. What was the background? What was the inspiration or the motivation for that?
Well, I started doing drag back in March 2018, and my initial impulse was to try and get a job in one of the venues. So I wanted to get a job in Panty Bar, I wanted to get a job at the George or somewhere. So I went in, all guns blazing. I really tried to make that happen, but I found that I do quite non-traditional, non-binary drag, that it didn't quite fit with those venues. So I found that I just kind of had to create my own space then in order to have somewhere to perform on a regular basis and to try and make some money.
Very smart move. Yep. I'm not surprised really because although we like to think of ourselves as hugely open in the community and all that, when it comes to economics, it's a different game altogether. You know. But look, the other side of the coin is that GCN, I think it was, described you as an intergender drag act.
Yeah.
Explain that to the listeners. How does that? I mean, for those who are going to be watching the video, they'll see what that means. But for the listeners who don't have the benefit of the visual...
Yeah. So I think an important distinction to make is that you have sort of traditional binary drag. So you have men who dress up as women who are drag queens, or you have women who dress up as men who are drag kings.
Exactly.
I identify as non-binary, which means I don't identify as either a man or a woman, so my drag kind of follows suit. So I'm not mad about the term drag queen, and to be honest, I don't feel like drag king.
It's a bit outdated, isn't it?
Tiny bit. I just don't feel like it fully applies to precisely what I do. So I kind of had to come up with my own sort of set of terminology. So intergender drag entity is what I'm sort of working from at the moment. I was sort of trying out the word queen for a while, like a portmanteau of queen and king, but I don't think that quite, it's a little bit awkward. But I'm just trying to find some sort of gender neutral terminology to be able to describe my work. Basically, somebody recently described me as a drag pharaoh, which I really like, because pharaoh is gender neutral.
Drag czar.
Yeah, drag czar.
But let's just step back a little bit. I mean, you and we first encountered each other. We like that term. I think it was 2018, Scene+Heard, when you were on a panel discussion talking about style and fashion. The next time I saw you would have been earlier this year. I think it was about February, March, and you had this phenomenal show at Scene+Heard called Big Girls Blouse.
Yes, indeed.
That was a good platform, wasn't it?
It was a great platform. Scene+Heard is a wonderful festival, and it's happening again this year.
Next February, I believe.
Yeah, the marvellous Caoimhe Connolly and Cliona Dukes organising that. It's a brilliant platform. It's a great kind of safe, comfortable space to try out new work, and it generates this great sort of artist hub in Smock where you can find people with skills that you might need for your show, or you can find kind of a little friend group within that, and you can all go and sort of critique each other's work in a nice way. Because the great thing about Scene+Heard is that you get feedback, so you get written feedback from the audience, but it's also great to kind of have a bit of a community there who are all going to see each other's work, and we can all sort of help each other out.
Will you be into 2020 Scene+Heard, or are you a bit busy with the current projects?
A little bit busy with the current projects, and I'm also still working on Big Girls Blouse from last year. So if I were to present something this year, it would be kind of it felt like it would be an updated version of Big Girls Blouse, which I didn't feel like I needed to premiere. But I am working on a full-length version of that show.
Well, you know that I am a huge fan of the song itself, and I would love to. If we get a recording of it, I guarantee you I will play it here for the listeners.
Oh, brilliant!
Because the other side of the coin, we should remind people, is you have a phenomenal singing voice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Something else that I noticed during the year, I gather you appeared at the Electric Picnic as well. How did that come about?
I certainly did.
Yeah.
That was one of the most exciting kind of moments of the year. I was performing at a fantastic queer performance night, I'm sure you're familiar with, called Spice Bag.
Yeah.
That had moved to the Commercial Rowing Club, and I was scouted and spotted by the amazing Shani Williams, who's better known as Slicko as a drag king, or Sado as a burlesque artist. And herself and Victoria's Secret were programming the cabaret tent at EP, so I was given a lovely slot there at that. Had a very eventful first performance at Electric Picnic Mix. So the cabaret tent we were in was amazing. Like, it was a big top proper circus tent, gorgeous stage, brilliant lights. The lights were kind of wraparounds, like sort of surround lights. Sound system was amazing, but the way the day ran, we didn't get a proper sound check and tech run. So I went on stage, and it was a gorgeous stage, like 2 metre by 2 metre stage with a big runway on it. But when I got out on stage, the lights were so blinding, I had a follow spot on me that you couldn't see the edge of the stage and you couldn't see the audience. So I did 3 numbers in my set. I got into my last number, it was Breathless by the Chorus. I was belting it out, walking along. The chorus had just finished. I went to take a confident step, and boom, I fell straight off the stage onto the ground. But my turban came off. That was the only kind of casualty. I hopped straight back up, and I was back in by the next verse.
Like that's the trooper. Has that appeared on the has appeared on the internet yet? I mean, usually that's the sort of thing you screw up, or you say, you make an unplanned.
A friend of mine did take a video, so I need to get that off her and put that out there for the whole world to see. 'Cause I love moments like that. I actually really enjoyed it.
Well, those unplanned moments.
That's it. I kind of feel like when something goes perfectly well, there's not a whole lot you can learn from that. But if something goes absolutely...
Well, it's the sort of thing that gets great attention, isn't it?
That's the thing. And I mean, the audience, once that happened, the audience were so on my side for the rest of the number. It was really fun.
How did you feel you went down at that, pardoning the expression?
Very easy.
When I think of Electric Picnic, I think of hippie trippy dope smokers who were going to listen to Hosier and whatever. It's not the audience we would expect to see up at Francis Street, but
no.
Was it well received?
It was really well received. I think it was their first year doing something on that scale, that like a cabaret on that scale, so I don't think people were as aware that it was happening. I think the numbers could have been a little bit better, but anybody who did come to see the show was really blown away, because I mean, it was a fantastic lineup of drag, cabaret, burlesque, really exciting, brilliant stuff, and I think kind of ideal like daytime watching for EP.
Well, to me it's a great idea, because I constantly say to people, back in the day when I was a young brat, there was no real distinction between hippies and gay people, or it was all, we're alternative because society doesn't accept us, and I think
so we're all together.
If there's a coalesce of that happening again, would be no harm at all.
Absolutely, yeah.
The other area that I caught up with you again was at the Fringe Festival. You did a panel discussion with our mutual friend Blaheen.
And Blaheen just performed a stand-up set at the cabaret on Friday night.
Did she?
Absolutely marvellous. Yeah. Blaheen's wonderful. She's such a spitfire, and I can see big things happening for Blah. She's brilliant. But I loved that panel talk. I thought it was such a great idea. So it was called, just to explain, it was called Blah 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 by Blaheen de Burka. Essentially a panel talk, and each night had a different theme. So the night I was there, the topic was identity. So I thought it was great to have a chance to talk about quite heavy, quite serious issues, but in a really fun, light-hearted way. I think Blah did a great job of sort of moderating that conversation and making sure that it was an informative experience for the audience, but also an enjoyable experience for the audience. Because I find as a non-binary person, I find I have to do a lot of explaining, but I find once you kind of start like proselytizing, or you start really once you start telling people what to think, people really sort of switch off. You have to sort of, it's like tricking kids into eating their vegetables. Do you know what I mean? You really have to try and kind of coddle them.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? It's basically trying to say, see yourself in my shoes.
Exactly. I would say one of the biggest problems we have in society in general at the moment is just this lack of sort of empathy and compassion, and the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. But that's sort of, I think that's kind of my mission, or kind of why I'm here, is to sort of spread a bit more of awareness around these things.
We're, as we say, we're just, how can I put it, we're just prophets. Maybe that's what you could be, a drag prophet.
Drag prophet, I like that.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, because just again for those who weren't there on the night, the panel discussion, it consisted of yourself, who was talking about identity from almost a genderish perspective.
Yeah.
We also had Philippa Ryder, who was a great friend of both, magnificent person, who was a trans woman, and then we had another woman who I can't quite remember her name because it was a very long name, and she was African, and she was talking about it from a race perspective. So it was a real interesting mix, wasn't it?
Really was. I thought they did a great job. Just in the little small things, that their set was great and it was really well polished. And again, the discussion went in a really interesting way, and it was fun as well as informative, which is crucial.
And as we say, Bloheen has got charisma to burn.
Oh my goodness,
oh, what a fabulous person!
Get that woman a TV show pronto. Yeah.
No, I mean, the week before that went on, I spent an hour interviewing Bloheen. On this program's only half an hour, so we ended up getting 2 programs out of it. Okay. But somebody, not so much of the same genre, but coming to a certain degree from the same perspective, who's made, been hugely successful in the UK, which is Aisling B. And yet, I think Bloheen potentially has the ability and the personality to go further even. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I really do. I can see big things for Bloh.
Is she good as a stand-up?
She's brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I really want to see her stand-up.
Yeah,
so, Bloheen, tell us where you're on, and we
absolutely,
go and see her stand-up. Now, tell me, I first went to the Big Dirty Queer Cabaret. I think it was about last March, and I think we might have even had you back at the house afterwards.
I'm sure we did.
What was the as we say, your inspiration for that? Because it's unique in Dublin terms. I mean, you go to the George, you see a drag actor. You go down to the Panty Bar, and they're fairly safe. Let's be honest. They're quite polished, and there's nothing you haven't seen before. But when I went to the Big Dirty Queer Cabaret, I thought, this is the Weimar Republic. This is what this is challenging, and I loved it to bits.
Yeah, I love that you said Weimar. That's really where the inspiration comes from. Somebody said that to me on Friday night as well. That's the highest compliment I could receive about the cabaret, because it really is. I see a comparison there between that culture in the 20s and what's happening now, and that there's this sort of window that's open slightly, and all the freaks are crawling out of it. You know. For me, it's about giving a space to queer artists who may not be as commercially viable as, say, the Queens in the George or Panty Bar or wherever else you might get them, and also to have a space for new artists to start out to have. One of my main kind of goals in life, or kind of what it's like my main personality attribute, is like I like to make people feel comfortable. And I kind of try and translate that into the cabaret as well, to try and create a space that's equally comfortable for the audience and for the performers, regardless of their level of expertise or their level of experience. That it's a comfortable kind of safe space that you can come in and express yourself, basically.
Indeed.
Regardless of what your art form is, whether it's drag, burlesque, spoken word, poetry, music, stand-up, there are very few rules in the cabaret. Yeah.
No, that was I was quite surprised the first time I saw it. Was the just the range that was there, the diversity that was there, because we were, clearly we were getting singing, we were getting poetry, we were getting drag acts, and it was just. As you say, it wasn't necessarily the most polished under the sun, but
not at all.
You don't think about that. It's a vibe thing, as we say.
Yeah. It's something I'm working towards just in general. Like as it develops, I'm almost at it a year now. Is to try and keep that sort of energy where it feels like anything could happen at any time, but it's just a little bit more under control and a little bit better scheduled and all those things. Because I mean, for a long time I was working as sort of a one-person show.
Indeed,
Eventually down the line I'd love to have a stage manager and a tech person and somebody sort of built into the team. Yeah,
because your as I say, your productivity down there is exceptional. I mean, I just think, my word, this person must have an enormous energy or a really good dealer.
I promise you, it's the former. I mean, I think it's a lot of just pent up sort of. I feel like I spent too long not doing drag. That now I kind of have to hit the ground running and really make up for that, and it gives me energy. Like it is. It can be taxing, but that really gives me a buzz. Yeah, it's what I want to do. Yeah.
Tell me, how have you found people? Because you've had an enormous range of people for the 3 or 4 times I've been there. And do they come to you, or do you go looking for them?
It's a bit of both. It's mostly me kind of seeking people out. I'll see people that I like at other nights, or I'll see people on Instagram that I think are interesting, or but then I have had people, which is lovely, you know, approach me saying I've been at the cabaret and I'd love to perform. And there's mostly always a space there for anyone who wants to do a turn.
So tell us about some of the acts that you've broken. I mean, the one that I thought was one of the most memorable was it Sister Mary?
Marion Mary.
Marion Mary.
Mary.
She was a nun from Donegal, and I think I saw her. Dare I say it, her opening night.
Yes,
and she sang religious songs.
She did.
Accompanied by a guitar. It was almost like the perfect antidote to Dana.
Isn't it? Exactly. That's the way I see her. I see her as kind of like the drag side of Dana. Her full drag name is Marion Mary, the 6th confirmation name Jane. Okay. And her mother is actually named Marion Mary. Her sister is Marion Mary. Her grandmother is Marion Mary. Her great grandmother is Marion Mary. Marion's a wonderful performer. I love the tongue-in-cheek religious bent to it. She's fabulous. I love an acoustic folk singing kind of 70s style drag act. It's so original.
Because I would have said if Marion Mary was to do that in Donegal, where Marion Mary hails from, it might raise a few eyebrows. But when she did it in Francis Street or in Drop Dead twice, people just embraced it. And in fact, what I recall, did an encore.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Marion's amazing. She also performed at my inaugural cabaret Bow Lane, which happened last week.
Where's that?
Bow Lane is on Ainger Street, so it's only it's a stone's throw away from the George, and that is where the infamous drag brunch happens every month, which is Divine and Miza and Sophia Hart. So they are looking to expand and put in more queer acts. So we did our first queer cabaret there last week, and we'll be back on the 27th of November for round 2. Okay, since
you've caught me on the hop here, Bow Lane, where? What's exactly the location, and what's the dates we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, so Bow Lane is on Ainger Street. It is a stone's throw away from the George, and the date you need to keep in mind is Wednesday the 27th of November. We'll be back there. I will be joined by Marion Mary, cover Chanel number 5, reigning Miss Burlesque Ireland Bella Curve, alternative drag star and George star Anxiety, and my favourite stand-up comedian in the whole wide world, Ali Fox, aka Bon Mott. We've got a great lineup.
And that goes out on what nights?
27th of November. It's the last Wednesday of every month.
Okay, so it's a Wednesday. That's good. Because the midweek, it's crying out for something, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when we were chatting to Bow Lane about how to go about it, I was really pushing for a weekend, because I know from having produced nights that the weekends tend to do better in terms of numbers, but then in terms of actual demand, I think for building an audience and building something new, I think it's good to go for kind of an unused night, you know?
Yeah. And what's your role there? Are you the MC, or are you performing as well?
Performer, host and co-producer.
So, just to get people, the Big Dirty Queer Cabaret, is that every Friday or every weekend?
It's monthly.
Monthly as well.
Yeah.
Okay, what the date of the month would that be?
It varies month to month, but our next one in Drop Dead Twice is the 15th of December, which is a Sunday. Okay. And we will not actually be holding a cabaret per se, we are doing a drag nativity.
And you'll be playing the baby Jesus.
Well, I'm not sure yet. I know Marion Mary will be playing the Virgin Mary for sure.
Of course.
That's a given. But I'm working on the script at the moment with my wonderful housemate John Morton, who's a writer, who has a TV series coming out on RT next year, and the fabulous Peter McGann, who is an alternative stand-up comedian and writer as well. So I've got a great team around me for that. It's going to be sacrilegious fun.
So are you casting for shepherds and wise men, or is that still...
No, we're open, so if people are interested in coming on board, we're looking for performers, we're looking for set designers, we're looking for backstage, we're looking for stage managers. I want to try and make this a big production to kind of send the year out.
A bit like the moving crib used to be.
Yes, yes, like a drag kind of sacrilegious, moving crib. Basically.
Okay, well... all I can say is that I have a great ass if you ever need that.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Front and centre.
Now, something that we wanted to talk about is the big queer open mic night.
Yes.
Tell us all about that.
So the queer open mic is something I've been running sort of alongside the cabaret since I started those. And I took a little break from them, and now I am back with a bang. We've had a great response to them so far, and this time around I have got some headliners who are going to be performing for sure, and then we'll have a space for people to sign up ahead of time and a space for people to sign up on the night. So we'll have about 6 slots for people turning up. But our previous open nights, we've had people stand up and come up and do comedy and sing and just kind of stand up and give little speeches or orations or spoken word. That is on the 20th of November in Drop Dead Twice. We're still looking for performers, so if you're interested, you can email me at rendennehy, WRENDENNEHY @gmail.com, and essentially all you need to do is send me a description of your act and any music or tech requirements that you have, and you'll be guaranteed a spot.
And what about if they turn up in the night? Because people, they people can be a bit, as I say, reticent, and then you put them on stage and you can't get them off.
So we'll have spaces on the night as well. We'll be able to accommodate that.
Do people have to identify as queer, or
No, I think something that I've always tried to build into the kind of the fabric of my nights is that it's for queer and queer friendly people.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's really important, like from the beginning we've had a mix of straight and queer people in our audiences, and I think keeping having good relationships with your allies is as important than with your fellow queer people. Do you know? I know there's a lot of discussion around Pride this year about who's allowed at Pride and who's not allowed at Pride, etc., etc. But I would always be very hesitant around that sort of exclusive attitude. I think anybody who is queer friendly and respectful of queer people has a place at the cabaret. Yeah.
And have you ever? I'm unashamed about one of the best gigs I ever went to in the last 30 years in Dublin was the Gag Ball. Now, but the Gag Ball was a bit very similar to, in some respects, to what happens at the Queer Cabaret, but it was slightly more interactive in the sense that they'd have a DJ, and then this is where I met Panty. Panty was half-time entertainment, but people dressed up, and that's something I love. You know, I love going to somewhere where the audience is dressed up because they know what's going on. And, so we'd have people wandering around with gimps, and it was wall-to-wall, drag queens in those days because there was nowhere else to go. Have you ever considered expanding in that direction, or is venue an issue?
No, it's something I'm definitely considering for down the line. I would love to put on big events. Something I really want to revive, and it's something I've tested the waters with this before, and from the responses I've got, I've still got a lot of work to do. But Alternative Miss Ireland.
That's what I was going to say to you.
Not necessarily that event, because I had a chat with some of the original organisers of the event, and they said that they would be. Naturally, they're quite protective of the name and the event, and that it had its time and its place and finished. But I really think Dublin is lacking something central. Yeah. So there's these small nights that happen on a weekly, monthly, bi-monthly basis, but there isn't that one huge sort of like queer Christmas sort of effect where you get everybody together. It used to be in the Olympia, wasn't it?
I know. I was at the last one, and it was we were there when Cian O'Callaghan as Mangina won it, and I used to just absolutely
my unofficial drag father.
No, well I used to just love it because every year I'd interview Panty and we'd talk about it, and then I was told this is the last one, and I think it was I can't remember, was it Sinead Burke who won the last one? But anyway, it was somebody who was certainly dressed as Little Red Riding Hood.
Okay.
And Snow White. Right. And she was a teeny tiny person, but it was just such a fabulous night to go to.
Yeah.
It really does need a revival in some form.
And that was before my time, quote unquote. So like I wasn't, I never went to any of those.
Yeah, you would have been a bit young then, wouldn't you? But no, I could tell you if that was to be revived again, and with the right promotion, people loved it. I think it would have to be something different. I don't think it could be called AMI. I think it would have to be a new venue. Miss Queer Ireland.
Something like that. Something like that. Yeah. But that's certainly in my long-term trajectory.
Yeah. Well, to show you what it used to be, one of my friends, her mother, Agnes Burnell, who was one of the associated with the Weimar because she was one of the great singers of Brecht. She entered it. Yeah, she entered it one year, and she entered her dog.
Really? It's brilliant.
She did, and that's the sort of thing, that's queer, but that's us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So just so people get it right, The open mic night, what night is that?
Open mic night is Wednesday 20th.
Okay, Wednesday 20th.
Drop Dead Twice.
In Drop Dead Twice, in Francis Street.
In Francis Street. Then 1 week later, you can join us at Bowlane for the Queer Cabaret there. And then you can join us on the 15th
of November for the Nativity.
For the Drag Nativity, yeah.
Just before we finish, Ren, this weekend coming up, it's a fairly significant event in the calendar, but doesn't get the coverage it often deserves, and that is Transgender Day of Remembrance. How important do you think that is?
It's really crucial. Yeah. It's a really important time to acknowledge and to take stock of how high trans suicide rates are still, about the deprivation of trans healthcare, and the lack of legislation, the lack of action that's going on around that. And also, I think it's extremely important for the queer community. It's extremely significant to the trans community, obviously, but I think it's very important that the straight and sort of allied community pays attention, and can sit up and listen and learn about what the day is about and why we need it.
Well, not only that, but it also draws attention to all the trans people who've been killed during the year.
Absolutely.
And you know,
we've had a horrible year.
Yeah. Well, I was just looking at something last night, and which somebody sent me, a fabulous-looking trans woman from the Philippines went to Australia for 2 or 3 weeks and was murdered in a place called Wagga of all places. And you know, you think, okay, the person might have been working as a sex worker, and I don't care about that. But what, what promotes somebody or prompts somebody to actually commit a murder?
I know.
It puts it in perspective that it's the perpetrator who's the sick person and the victim who's not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's on Friday night up at the Unitarian Church up in Stephen's Green. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go this year, which will be the first time in about 10 years I haven't gone, but that's a great one. The last but not by no means least, for those who are going to be watching the video, you've got fabulous style. Where do you get your outfits from, Ren?
I'm very lucky. I managed to somehow acquire all these fabulous pieces. So my friend picked up this guna in a charity shop in Smithfield for £8. I have a wonderful friends who are a couple, Aaron and Sarah, who are extremely creative and acquire all these beautiful things, and lovely, very kindly pass them on to me. And my drag mother, Camille Ross, also passes me on some bits. Then I have stuff made by my friend who's a designer called Sheldon Barnett, so it comes from everywhere.
And last but by no means least, who does your makeup?
I do my makeup, Mick. All artist's own, model's own.
Look, I've been to the Big Dirty Queer Cabaret. I think it is absolutely fabulous. I'm recommending it to anybody who likes a bit of alternative entertainment, because you will have a terrific night up there in Drop Dead Twice, and you meet lots of gorgeous people as well. Yes. So, Ren, it has been an absolute delight, as always, having you back again. We'll see you up at the Queer Cabaret very
Absolutely.
soon.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Yes, that's it for this week. We want to thank Ren Dennehy, who is also known as Avoca Reaction, for being such a fabulous guest.
My world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say I am.